How's it going, everybody? It's MrScaryMuffin here, and I built a little something to help a bunch of y'all out. I noticed quite a few people have started making their own PvP maps, adventure maps, custom maps, what have you. And I also want to start on a project myself as well. You guys might have noticed we've been playing a little bit of a game on the Groundhog server called Thread the Needle, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to build a Thread the Needle map so that people could just upload it onto their server and play a couple of games and have some fun with it. In either case, here is a template world to get people started on their own world. I've included a few features around, and hopefully these will help a lot. I'm not going to say that this is the best practice for making maps, but as I build out of this area and provide the downloads and everything, I want to stress that I think these are fairly good practices. May not be the best, but they are definitely very good practices to go by. Anyways, up here in the bedrock area is the natural spawn. So if a player spawns there, what will happen is there is a little floaty guy, little spawner, and it drops. Oops, you can see that spawned the message a little bit there. Anyways, basically, that little guy over here, whenever a player is in this area, it will spam that line block on the pressure plate over here. And this pressure plate doesn't send the player anywhere. If they land here, nothing happens except that loading of the default map settings. There's a little warning sign in case people don't have their command blocks. I'm going to let the map maker, whoever that may be, decide how they want to use that. Anyways, I'm going to reset this and show you guys all the other things as they occur. But yeah, however the map maker wants to handle the spawn handling in there, there's lots of ways to do it, and I'll show you how I'm going to be doing it in my map coming up in a later video. This time around, we're just going to look at just this opening sequence here. So this block here gets powered, which powers this line over here, and the power goes one way, that way, and another way, this way. Let's take a look over this side, since that's what had triggered already. This is a RS NOR latch, a very simple one. When power goes here, it turns off this torch, turns on these ones, and in a sense power down this line. This is the default map setting stuff. I've already punched in a whole bunch of game rules and a whole bunch of default settings for you guys to use. You guys can change these anywhere, but these tend to be the ones that a lot of people want to use. So default game mode, weather clear, setting time. I'm freezing time at noon-ish, because I figured that is when people want to be building their stuff anyways. In daylight, they might want to change it later on. That's fine. Setting fire tick false, namely because most of my redstoning here is done with wool. And these mob ones you can do however, but basically these game rules are there just to keep things easy and for the map builder while they're building the map, and they can later on change these however they like. This one should probably be true, actually. Oh well, whatever. If we were to keep it easy. And basically, so this is the game rules line. You're probably not going to have this many game rules. I have another line here. This is for the objectives, and right now I only have one objective in here, which is the binary objective. And the way I do these is I initially remove the objectives. All the objectives on the map gets removed and then re-added back on. And what that does is that if anybody loads your map twice, sometimes they will just click and drag it on an FTP client, and they won't delete the previous file, which means sometimes player files will get merged, which means player file scores will get transferred over. Even though they loaded a new map, it may still have the scores. And what happens here when you remove all the objectives and you re-add them is that you basically delete all the scores. I have 2 lines for objectives just because there's going to be lots of objectives rather, and this probably needs to be placed underneath so that it doesn't spam that message multiple times like it did there. Yeah, basically this turned on and powered itself off and on. So I got to move this maybe outside to, yeah, over there. That kind of stuff. That just says that things have been successfully loaded. Anyways, so over on the other side here, we have a monostable circuit here, or a little pulse circuit rather, I like to call it. When this gets triggered, let's just punch that out. When this gets triggered, it sends a pulse right through this piston, and it gets transferred ever so gently. I don't know if you guys can see whether this piston, that repeater gets powered. Yeah, it flashes on there for a brief second. You can see that one right there. And what that does is that it kickstarts the clock. Again, sometimes when you reload the map, there's a tendency for these fast clocks to stall and freeze up. Especially things to do with the comparators tend to freeze. And what happens is that this just sends a pulse in there and causes the redstone to update, which will restart the clock. And that's all it does, is that it just restarts the clock. And that basically will stay powered once it triggers once. And with this clock, you can build your wireless redstone stuff all the way down that way, all the way down that way. And I'll go over how I do those things later on, but you basically can extend this clock with repeaters all the way across, and you just have one clock running everything on your entire map, and it gets kick-started at the start, so there's no chance for it to freeze as well. Now, when you're building stuff, sometimes you want to disable your clock. And that's another reason why it's nice to have just one clock, so you don't have to disable one thing. So we have a nice little easy disable clocks, and that just sends power through and stops the clock from ticking. Now this circuit over here is an XOR gate. Basically what that means is that if this input and this input are different, then it will create a power at this repeater and freezes the clocks. The reason why I have 2 inputs here is that one is a physical switch that you can access, and the other one is a remote clock disabler that you can type in a command and cause the clocks to disable. And I run it through an XOR gate so that I can toggle it no matter whether this is on or off. I can still toggle it using this here. And I guess this is the first little showing of how I'm using wireless display. There's 2 ways I do wireless redstone using the objectives. One way is using fake players. So in this case, it goes scoreboard players list !clock. Now, !clock is an impossible name in Minecraft. You can have underscores in your name, but you're not allowed to have exclamation marks in your name. So there's no player who would ever have this name, which is great because we're using this as a check. It would be terrible if I use a name, say _clock, and so for example if I did scoreboard players list _clock, if I did that and somebody just happens to have that name, it can cause things to go a little wonky. But I'm using !clock because there's no way anybody would have that name, and all we have to do is give clock a score and this will turn on, and that will cause the clocks to disable. Luckily, we do have one objective, and that is our binary objective. Using fake player names is a great way to activate binary objectives, anything that you just need to think, is this on or off? Is this on or off? As long as it only needs to be on or off, you can use fake player names, and that will help you. If you need something that counts, like a range of number, more than just on or off, then you'll have to use something else, which I'll show you guys another time. So in this case, let's go scoreboard players set clock binary to 1. And once we set his binary to 1, it turns the clock and disables the clock from running. It just freezes the clock for momentarily. And in order to undo that, we just remove all his scores, which we just reset, and that'll cause things to fire. And again, I run this through the XOR gate, meaning if I had this manually toggled and I forgot about it, went over and started working on the map and go, why isn't this working? Oh, because I forgot to restart the clocks afterwards. I don't have to run all the way back to this area and hit the switch again. Because it runs through an XOR gate, I can just set the clock, and now they share the same output, which will free up the repeater. Basically, when your clocks aren't working, just type in one command or the other and it should work, basically. It's a toggle more than a type this to make it turn on, type that to turn it off. You try both of them. If they don't work, then something might be wrong. But yeah, so that's how the clock thing works, which I think is a great feature. I used it quite a bit myself. Over here is a teleporter to the lobby. This is just a hopper, just bounces so that this checks every now and then. I use a hopper timer here because hopper timers don't freeze and I don't worry about kicking it, whereas this one will need to be kicked. And there's no way I can hook that clock back to this one because this is supposed to be freezing that thing. Anyways, this is a teleport to the lobby, and the lobby is about 500 blocks away from the spawn area. Build in this direction. This teleports you back to the redstone and natural spawn. So you can see over here we're roughly at 25, 55, 20, negative 20. That will just take us over to the lobby area, and you can do whatever you want with this lobby area. I just left you guys a bedrock platform so that you have something to build off of. You'll have to eventually branch off and do stuff. This is all void world, which is a nice clean way to build things. Anyway, you don't have excess stuff lying around. But yeah, so that is our beginnings. I just walked right off there. That is the beginnings of the map, and if you are starting the map, this is a great starting point for you guys to use. I will tweak it a little bit, just fixing the couple errors that I noticed there, and the keep inventory thing. And I'll have the upload links available for download, and of course, as usual, there will be an AdFly download link. Use that one if you'd like to support me. Otherwise, there will be a direct download link further down in the video description below. Check it out, guys. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.